So this is the start of my final section of the coast to coast. This is the little village of Shap. Last time I did the Lake District up and across to Shap. Last year I did in July after the first lockdown, I did Richmond to the sea at Robin Hood's Bay. And this time I'm doing Shap to Richmond, so Shap to Kirby Stevens, Kirby Stevens to Keld, Keld to Reeth, and Reeth on Friday to Richmond. Nice little village, and the birds are singing. This is where I'm staying overnight. This is my first overnight, and I'm going to get my first evening meal, and in the distance we can see the Lakeland Mountains. A red pillar box! Hooray! What could be more British? And this is the main street, and I think the only street, of Shap. Some nice houses here. Good healthy date, 1696. And this is the Market Cross, dated 1687. And some other old buildings, but not quite so old. And this is the pub where I booked a table to have my evening meal, the Crown Inn. And this is also not exactly a spring chicken. So no.
Why does everybody always say that?
Yeah, I tell you what I want though. Pine Foster, please. Yeah, thank you. So you were right after all. Yeah, thank you. So this is All Saints Church, Alton, and this is a 13th century church. And it doesn't look like much of the normal English church styles, perpendicular, Norman, what were the others? Can't remember. Looks a little bit idiosyncratic. Very reminiscent of the Dales. And of course that's what this is. No, I'm afraid it's locked. Wildlife around the church. I think I'd like to be buried in a churchyard like this. Plenty of rabbits to keep the ground fresh. Sound of crows. Now that's an interesting sign. Slow down, red squirrels. That is presumably that's saying we don't care about the grey squirrels but protect the red squirrels. Poor little grey squirrels. And here's a very old looking bridge, isn't it? My goodness me. You could hardly get a pack horse over this, could you? And it walks to, I'm not sure where. Shall I take it? And a lovely little bridge that the road goes over. Typical Dales countryside, field sheep. The lambs are quite big, surprisingly. I mean, it has been cold, hasn't it? That's surprising. Hilltops, escarpments, and sun. Sheep getting a little bit nervous because of me. Well, if anybody lives there, I think they have a rather drafty time of it. No windows, no doors. Nothing's been lived in for 100 years. Apart from the sheep wandering in for a bit of protection from the rain. But it looks like no rain today, thank goodness. And lovely landscape. And little lambs, but not so little. They were little probably 8 weeks ago, but no longer. And another field of sheep, and this time they're brown. In case I didn't mention it, this is the stage from Shap to Kirby Stephen. Actually, I didn't start at Shap, I started at Alton. Sounded more interesting. And lovely scenery, lots of animals, lots of fresh air, almost very sunny, just a few clouds. And each gate, I don't have to open the gate, I don't know if I even can. There's a sort of stone stile that you can spring over if you're 18 years old, or stagger over if you're my age. And it almost looks as if I'm the first person here, because there is no mark in the grass at all. So this is Sunbegin Farm. Newly painted by the looks of things, and it seems to be an equestrian centre. Countryside and the path getting very rough and wild now. We're leaving what was well delineated, well, almost roadway. It wasn't tarmac, but it was for vehicles. This isn't good enough for vehicles, except maybe some four-wheel drives. And yes, I think it's quite easy to lose your way in this part. Let's see what happens. We're now in the Westmoreland Dales Park, which is part of the Yorkshire Dales Park. And it's a pretty slender trail here. You can see there is a trail, but you have to be very careful that you don't lose it. I lost it back there, and I have no idea how I lost it. I seem to be following the right track, and there was a nudge to the right that I should have taken, and I didn't. There is a road here, a little road. There's a bridge you can see in the near distance. I don't know where the road goes to and goes from. It's not a highway. It's one of these one vehicle an hour type roads. Empty and lonely. This is where the national park just touches on a farmer's field. There's a ford coming up. I don't know, these sheep seem to have escaped, don't they? I suppose I better unloosen the rope so I can get through instead of trying to pull it down. And here we go to the ford. It's not what I'd call a ford, I would call it a bridge, but maybe the ford was overrun with water a bit too often, so they put a bridge in. And these sheep is, oh I see, other sheep in the field and sheep in the wild part. Maybe there's a hole in the wall and they escaped. And they're looking very curious. They don't like the look of me at all. Well, I'm not going to attack you. Just move gently out of the way and you'll be all right. Well, we had a bit of a downpour there. It's passed over, it's gone in the direction that I'm walking. And behind me, and catching up with me, is bright blue sky. farm over there, and I'm walking at the dividing line between the moor or fell and farmland, which is over here. Farmland finishes, looks like, over this wall just here. And on we go. Got a little bit wet, but I'm hoping when the sun comes and it warms up and I'm still walking, I shall dry out. At the moment I'm absolutely sodden. Very peaceful. They sound like skylarks. Ah, they've stopped calling now. That's the edge of the Lake District, I guess. And the sun's catching up with me. It's going to be a lovely day. Doesn't quite feel like it at the moment, but I think that's what it's turning into. There it is, the sound of the bird. I think it's a skylark. Over there somewhere, and the other one I think is a lapwing, the two-tone call. No, he's been quite quiet, you can't hear him.